Before I show you the decrypted June 2020 signal, I have a massive challenge for everyone watching. I want you to go to the comments right now, type the name of your city, and answer this. Have you noticed the flickering stars or unusual light patterns in your sky this week? NASA has quietly opened a civilian observation network because their models of the 3I Atlas trajectory are failing. They are looking for ground-level data points that they aren't telling the public about by commenting. You aren't just engaging, you are helping us map what might be a global quarantine phenomenon. If you haven't seen anything yet, type clear sky. But if you have, we need to know exactly where. It's a moment I truly never anticipated witnessing, but we find ourselves in a reality where the established rules of cosmic contact have fundamentally shifted. Before we dive into the heart of this revelation, I have a specific request for you. Please head down to the comments, mention your city, and share whether you have observed anything out of the ordinary in the night sky. Recently, I'm talking about objects that don't follow the path of a star, don't flicker like a common satellite, and seem to be watching rather than simply passing by. NASA is actively looking for where these phenomena are appearing, and your personal observations could be a vital piece of a puzzle much larger than any of us. What I'm about to disclose might permanently alter your perspective on humanity's place in this vast universe. It all began with a visitor, an object arriving from the deep reaches beyond our solar system. This was the third interstellar object ever captured by our instruments, eventually cataloged as 3I Atlas. When it was first discovered in early 2025, most of the scientific community dismissed it as just another icy wanderer, mere cosmic debris drifting aimlessly through the void between stars. However, from the very moment I examined the trajectory data and the spectroscopic readings, it was clear that this was no ordinary rock. It moved through our system with a level of grace and elegance that absolutely defied any natural explanation. In my decades of studying the universe and trying to decode the mathematical poetry embedded in space-time, and I've learned that the cosmos doesn't make mistakes. Every angle of approach, every velocity, and every trajectory carries a specific meaning. 3I Atlas was speaking a language we were only just beginning to grasp. Let's revisit the moment we initially believed was the start of this saga. It was a crisp morning in February when an alert was triggered by the Atlas Survey System in Hawaii, the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System. This network is specifically designed to scan the skies for objects that could pose a threat to Earth, but this visitor wasn't on a collision course. It was passing by with a level of precision that felt entirely intentional. NASA's orbital mechanics team ran the calculations 7 separate times, and the results were identical. This object had entered our solar system at an angle and speed suggesting it had been traveling through the interstellar dark for millions of years, only to arrive exactly in 2025. In physics, we don't really subscribe to the idea of coincidences. We look for causality. The first major anomaly was found in its composition. When we looked at the spectroscopic data, the light reflecting off its surface, we expected the familiar signatures of rock, ice, or perhaps carbon-rich material. Instead, we found something that made no sense under our current models of natural, cosmic bodies. The reflectivity pattern wasn't random or chaotic. It fluctuated with a mathematical precision that suggested the object was modulating its own albedo in direct response to being observed. Think about that. An object from another star system, after eons of travel through the frozen darkness, arrives in our neighborhood and begins changing its appearance the second we start looking at it. The second anomaly was even more unsettling. As 3I Atlas moved through our system, it began to decelerate. It wasn't a dramatic braking maneuver that would panic the general public, but it was enough to force every astrophysicist on the team to sit down and rethink everything we knew about ballistic trajectories. In the vacuum of space, natural objects simply do not slow down unless an external force is acting on them. While gravity can bend the path and solar winds can exert a tiny amount of pressure, This was different. This was a controlled deceleration. I recall a meeting at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory with 12 scientists in a room that suddenly felt far too small. The lead researcher pulled up the model, and the curve was smooth, calculated, and entirely intentional. Someone in the room whispered while we were all thinking, "It's breaking." That was a turning point. And within 48 hours, the data was classified not because of a conspiracy to hide things, but because we simply didn't understand what we were seeing. In the absence of clarity, protocol takes over, specifically the protocol for contact that was established decades ago in the hope it would never be needed. We were watching an object from another star perform maneuvers that pointed toward intelligence, technology, and a clear purpose. And then the signal started. It wasn't radio waves or light pulses. It was far more sophisticated, bypassing our traditional SETI methods. The object was emitting gravitational waves, microscopic ripples in the fabric of space-time itself, oscillating at frequencies that form distinct mathematical sequences. We recognized prime numbers, Fibonacci progressions, and ratios corresponding to the fundamental constants of physics, such as the fine structure constant and the mass ratio of protons to electrons. This wasn't noise, it was communication. I spent my life trying to understand the universe through string theory and quantum mechanics, searching for a unified framework to explain everything. But here, mathematics was being used as a literal language. Whoever sent 3I Atlas understood physics at a level that made our most advanced theories look like basic arithmetic, and the message was layered and multidimensional, requiring our most powerful AI systems nearly 3 weeks just to begin the decoding process. What they uncovered was both breathtaking and terrifying. The message contained star charts, not of the galaxy as it appears today, but as it looked tens of thousands of years ago. It included precise positions of stars, pulsars, and black holes, a map so detailed it could only come from a civilization that had mastered interstellar travel and had been watching us for an unfathomable amount of time. Deeper within these patterns were biological markers. We found DNA sequences not human, but similar enough to suggest a shared universal chemistry. These sequences coded for proteins we had never seen, molecular machines that operated at scales and efficiencies that seemed to challenge the laws of thermodynamics. These weren't just random genetic strings. They were blueprints and instructions, perhaps a gift or perhaps a warning. Buried at the deepest level was what I can only call a cosmic census, a catalog of civilizations throughout the galaxy. Each entry listed a star system, a time frame, a classification, and a status marker. Most were marked as observed, some as contacted, and a few as elevated. And then there was one entry that made my blood run cold. So it described our solar system, a G-type star, the third planet with an oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere and carbon-based biology. Our status was listed as quarantined. For 3 days, I didn't sleep. I ran simulations and consulted with experts in astrobiology, quantum communication, and xenosociology. We struggled to define what quarantine truly meant. Were we being shielded for our own protection from something dangerous in the galactic community, or were we the ones being contained? And the answer eventually came from a cognitive linguist on the AI team. She noticed that the gravitational patterns weren't just data, they were encoding something analogous to emotion, a sense of urgency, concern, and perhaps even a deep sadness. The civilization behind 3I Atlas wasn't warning us about external threats, they were warning us about ourselves. When I finally grasped the weight of this, I had to step outside, standing under the same night sky I've loved since I was a child. I felt a strange mix of insignificance and dread. The message outlined a historical pattern that is repeated across the galaxy for billions of years. A civilization rises, develops technology, achieves radio and digital computation, and then reaches a critical threshold with artificial intelligence. At that point, there is no middle ground. The species either transcends into a higher form of consciousness or it collapses into self-destruction. There is no stable equilibrium where a species remains both biological and technological for long in cosmic terms. Humanity is fast approaching that very threshold, likely only decades away, and we are showing every classic warning sign of choosing the wrong path. We realize the quarantine isn't to protect us, it's to protect the rest of the galaxy from what we might become if we continue without wisdom or a cosmic perspective. We are just one more experiment in consciousness that the universe is conducting. 3i Atlas wasn't a coincidence. It was an intervention. Look at our current timing. We've developed AI that outpaces us in many areas. We're editing our own genetic code, building quantum computers, and preparing to become a multi-planetary species. We are nearing the technological singularity, the point where change happens so fast we can no longer model it. Yet we are doing this while still mired in tribal warfare and environmental destruction. We are children playing with nuclear fire, and the cosmos has taken notice. The most haunting part of the message was its final sequence. It wasn't a threat or a set of instructions, but a question encoded in logic. What will you become? It suggested that our current state is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is the choice we are about to make as a species. I think about this every day now when I see the news. When I watch us grapple with AI or climate change, we're at a fork in the road. And 3i Atlas is the signpost we almost missed. NASA is still tracking the object, which has now moved beyond Neptune while still broadcasting its mathematical language. But something new is happening. Other smaller objects have been detected entering our system on similar trajectories. It seems the first probe was just a scout, and now the observers are gathering to see what we do next. People often ask if we should respond or prepare for contact. My answer is that we are already in contact. Every technological leap, every decision about our environment, and every choice between cooperation and conflict is a response to that question. What will we become? Some view 3i Atlas as a military threat, but I see it as the greatest gift we've ever received, confirmation that we are not alone and that there are rules to this cosmic game. The universe is not a random accident. It is structured, watched, and we are currently on probation. This quarantine won't last forever. We will either prove ourselves worthy of the galactic community or we will fail. And failure doesn't mean an alien invasion. It means we destroy ourselves. And the quarantine ensures we don't take the rest of the galaxy down with us. In my career, I've studied the math of parallel universes and the possibility of wormholes. I speculated about civilizations that could harness entire stars, but nothing prepared me for the reality of contact because it wasn't what we expected. There are no saucers on the White House lawn. Instead, there is a silent probe from the stars carrying a message in the language of the universe, asking us the only question that truly matters. Now I look at every star differently. Knowing they could be home to others who have faced the same crossroads, some transcended their limitations and became something beautiful. Others fell silent, leaving their worlds as monuments to intelligence without wisdom. Earth is at that exact junction, and 3i Atlas is the marker we cannot ignore. Some will say, I'm just seeing patterns. Where none exist, letting my imagination outpace the data. Perhaps they're right, and it's just a strange comet. But I don't believe that's the case, and I don't think we can afford to assume it is. If even a fraction of what we decoded is true, we are living through the most significant moment in human history. This is more important than the discovery of fire or the Industrial Revolution. This is the moment we decide what kind of intelligence we will be in a universe full of them. Will we be the species that used its cleverness to self-destruct, or the one that learned to lead with wisdom and cooperation? The observers are watching, and 3i Atlas was their calling card. The quarantine is real, and the question of what we will become hangs in the silence between stars. I don't have the answer myself, no one person does. It'll be answered by our collective choices, our policies, our values, and whether we choose short-term gain or long-term survival. The haunting part is that we might not know we've made the final choice until it's too late to turn back. I'm a physicist, not a prophet. But the evidence of these anomalies is real, and the implications are something we must confront. Please follow along as we continue to decode these final warnings. This 3I Atlas may have moved out of range, but the phenomenon is only accelerating. More objects and more signals are arriving, proving we are being evaluated by those who mastered the stars while our ancestors were first discovering fire. They are asking us a question that keeps me awake at night. If the universe is a test and consciousness is the exam, what happens to those who fail? Are they simply left to face the natural consequences of their own power? Are they a brief flash in time, followed by eternal silence? Most importantly, which category will we fall into? Please share your thoughts below. Tell me where you are and what you think about what's happening in our skies. This is no longer just a matter of science, it's about our survival and our potential for transcendence. The clock is ticking, the observers are waiting, and our answer is being written with every choice we make. Hit the subscribe button for upcoming space update. Thanks for watching.